Hi, my name is Dr. Amanda Helman, and we are on the Traumaplicity podcast, season 3. And I want to welcome you all. We are now looking at beliefs. I'm going to be talking about some of the key beliefs. Today, we're really just going to go into the difference between thoughts, beliefs, agreements, and emotions. And each week, I'll be focusing on one specific area. And I'll be giving some info, some examples, but stay tuned because I'll be having a book on this and how it impacts you. Many books coming actually, but this will be a series. So with that said, we're going to first talk about what thoughts are, okay? And thoughts, when we think about it, like, oh, well, what happens with our thoughts? Well, thoughts is something that you hear inside your brain or even your body, down to your gut. That's your second brain. And it can happen one time or multiple times based on when we see and hear. What we see and hear filters our thoughts. So if we see something and it was like, something that someone got hurt, it might be a negative thought, like, oh no, like there could be a judgment happening where it's like, that's scary, right? Or, oh my gosh, what's happening? So a thought is something that we're thinking, and it's there. It may or may not be true, but based on our experiences, we may think that every time something like this happens, that's going to happen, right? For example, if I jump into the pool and it's cold, I might always think it's going to be cold when I jump into a pool because I experienced it once, it's cold. But I might go into a heated pool, right? And be like, oh my gosh, it's hot. Or on a hot day, it's no longer hot. It's, cold is hot. And so then it can shift. Now, feelings are not always accurate. And so feelings are when we sense something in our body with an event. Feeling when all of a sudden, if we jump into cold water, we might go, ooh, you're feeling cold, you're feeling a little shock, you might feel a little stress in your body, you might feel a little like, what's this? And so that a lot of times the feeling and the thought, if they combine, right? So if I feel something and then I think about it, it can turn into what I call belief. And belief is an ongoing, it's like the emotional feeling and the thought, right? So feeling, if I'm feeling sad and the thought, this isn't, every time, I go somewhere, people don't talk to me, that sadness, that emotion, plus the thought of every time I go somewhere and someone's not going to talk to me, forms a belief and is a very strong thought pattern that can happen based on our experiences, or it can happen because of our genetic makeup from families before. So for example, if my great grandfather believed that he was sad because in one place no one talked to him, his belief might be, I am not important, or I'm not significant, or I'm not noticed, or I'm not seen. And it forms this belief of the feelings, right? Like sadness, the thoughts, oh, well, when I go somewhere, someone's not going to talk to me because I've had this experience. And then the belief, I'm not seen, this is what's going to happen. And these thought patterns and these feelings get connected together, intertwined like DNA. And it goes into our beliefs as a stronghold of what we're thinking and impacts our being. And it can absolutely impact our identity. If we're having the feelings, having the thinking, having even pictures, it can be confusing within us. And then we don't know where it came from, but sometimes it's not from us. A lot of times it's actually what happened in our generations that never got dealt with. And so those beliefs can be an ongoing thought pattern, and it can be a negative one or a positive one, and can impact us. So agreements are decisions that our family members or past generations or individuals agree with that can impact our decisions, our lifestyles, choices, and thinking. And when we have these agreements, they end up impacting our generational DNA. And once we break agreement with them, then we can shift into alignment in the truth. And emotions are biological reactions to both positive and negative experiences or trauma that happened to an individual or family, right? So past generations dealt with this. Often they're suppressed. And so emotions can impact our subconscious thoughts that lead to false beliefs and unhealthy responses. And these are all important things to define, because when it comes to belief, we don't always like to go to the deeper areas. But I often do, right? So feelings often follow the triggered emotions of current and past events, like avoidance, sadness, laughter, and joy. And this can happen when we are in the womb, or when, all the way early on in life. And we just don't know what has happened in the past. Our belief patterns can be I am statements, or I have statements, or I don't have. They can be negative, and they impact us because they can become cemented. Think of cement. It sticks, and that's like becomes hardened like a rock, and we have to break it. And the emotions and the thoughts and the feelings and the beliefs can all be stuck head to toe in our body, causing cemented beliefs in different parts of our body that really need to be replaced with what is true. And also, once we know that, we can break through those systems, we can become who we're called to be. And so our beliefs will either launch us forward or hold us back. And our perceived feelings about different situations impact our identity, and it can impact across the generations. So I wanted to set the stage with that. So for example, when we come to beliefs, I am loved, I am accepted. Those are I am statements. I have to work really hard. That could be a belief that keeps you in a stronghold financially. Or I am always going to have lack. I'm always going to lack. That can be a stronghold and a belief. Okay. So these are the important things that we want to break through. And the interesting thing is that we always talk about 90% of our conscious thoughts, right? And 10% subconscious. And I think it's interesting because I feel like there's more of an overlap. There's probably 10 or 15, maybe 20% actually of subconscious, but I actually believe some of those subconscious thoughts become conscious at times. And then we think that that's what we need to believe about ourselves. Those I am statements, even when we're young, we don't know why. We might feel different. We might think that we're different. We might have interesting feelings that we don't know where they came from. But they, in fact, don't just always come from us. They come from the different experiences our family have had that never dealt with. And all of a sudden, we're confused about how we're thinking, how we're feeling. And a lot of times, yes, there might be experiences we have, but the unknown is often from your family. Things that happen to families, things like oppression, or even sexual assault, sexual abuse, sexual trauma, that impacts our imprint. It impacts our anxiousness. It impacts our body. It impacts how we might feel or what emotions come up. It actually impacts our DNA. And once we identify those things and realize, oh, what are the beliefs that I'm thinking and where did they come from? Once we identify that, we can actually release those emotions, the feeding, and everything else falls. And then we're like, oh, do I really believe that about myself anymore? And that happens over time. Now, if there's a big stronghold where that's happened over and over and over again in a family, it can still be broken. It just may be in layers. So I wanted to come on and just identify this. I'll be on for, there'll be 10 more sessions where I talk about different beliefs and where they could come from. And I'll give you a little sneak peek to my new book. And then I'll be having guests on. So probably for the next 3 months, you'll be seeing me talking about beliefs. And then we'll be having different guests and people who have broken through some different statements and how it has changed their lives. All right. So as always, Traumaplicity podcast is on Wednesday nights at 7:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And my passion is to break women, men, and teens out of old beliefs, negative narratives, those old spinning thoughts or spinning dialogue that shut you down when you're a high creative and you want to get back your creativity, your imagination, right? So we rewire your brain. It's almost like a new brain reprogramming, think computer programming, but for the brain in a healthy way. And we activate all the best parts of your brain so you can think, problem solve, communicate, and find solutions so much more easily in a peaceful manner. And that leads to unlocking your potential. new potential in business, new potential in speaking, new potential in writing, new potential in every dream that you want to do coming to fruition because you shifted your mind and the blockers are now broken. All right, take care and I'll talk to you soon.